My husband sold our house without telling me, claiming it's my property anyway. I was devastated but decided to fight back. By the next morning, he discovered that his bank accounts were empty. I left a note saying, the eviction notice trembled in my hands as I stared at my husband's signature scrawled across the bottom. Not a copy, his actual signature in blue ink, as casual as if he were signing a birthday card. My house keys didn't work anymore. The locks had been changed. I'm Holly, and this was how I discovered my husband of 8 years had sold our home without telling me. Gordon? I called out, my voice echoing through our, no, not our anymore, front porch. The spare key under the potted plant was gone too. Through the window, I could see my suitcase sitting in the middle of the empty living room floor. My phone buzzed. A text from Gordon. Had to make an executive decision, honey. Market was too good to pass up. Your things are packed. The new owners move in next week. I read it 3 times, each time feeling the rage build higher in my chest. Executive decision? Like I was some employee he could steamroll? With shaking fingers, I called my sister Annabelle. Come get me, I managed to say when she answered. Gordon sold the house. He what? Annabelle's voice shot up an octave. Without telling you, there's an eviction notice. My suitcase is inside. I can't even get to it. I'm coming right now. Don't move. 20 minutes later, Annabelle's beat-up Subaru pulled into the driveway. Her partner Maya was with her. Thank God. While Annabelle hugged me, Maya, who worked as a locksmith, assessed the new locks. Standard deadbolt, Maya said. Give me 5 minutes. Is this even legal? Annabelle asked, still holding me. Does it matter? He did it anyway. I wiped my eyes, refusing to cry. 8 years, Belle. 8 years, and he doesn't even have the decency to discuss it with me? Maya had the door open in 3 minutes flat. The house echoed emptily as we stepped inside. Most of the furniture was gone. My suitcase sat in the middle of the floor like a sacrifice with a note taped to it. Honey, I read aloud, I know you'll be upset, but this is for the best. The market's hot, and we made a killing. I've moved most of our things to storage. Take what you need for now. We'll talk tonight. Love, G. For the best? Annabelle snatched the note from my hands. The audacity of this man. I opened the suitcase. He'd packed some of my clothes. All wrong, of course. No underwear, no toiletries, just random dresses and pants thrown together. You're staying with us, Maya said firmly. No discussion. My phone buzzed again. Gordon, don't be dramatic about this. It's just business. Just business, I repeated, showing them the text. Our home is just business. Call Camilla, Annabelle suggested, referring to my best friend. She works in real estate. She'll know if this is even legal. I nodded, but before I could dial, another text came through. This one from Xavier, Gordon's childhood friend. Hey, Holly, Gordon told me about the house. Great deal, right? You must be thrilled. That's when it hit me. Xavier knew before I did. Gordon had told his friend about selling our house, but hadn't bothered to tell his own wife. I need to get some things, I said, heading upstairs. The master bedroom was stripped bare except for a few boxes labeled Holly's stuff in Gordon's hasty scrawl. As I grabbed what I actually needed, I found our wedding photo still hanging on the wall. Gordon's smile looked different now. Not loving, but smug. Like he'd won something. Found this in the kitchen, Maya called up. She appeared in the doorway holding a stack of papers. Looks like closing documents. They're dated 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. He'd been sitting on this for 3 weeks, watching me water the garden, paint the guest room, plan our future in a house he'd already sold. Holly, Annabelle said softly, what are you going to do? I took one last look at our wedding photo, then carefully took it off the wall. The frame came apart easily in my hands. Behind our smiling faces, I found what I was looking for. A USB drive Gordon thought I didn't know about. He'd hidden it there 2 years ago, thinking he was so clever. First, I said, pocketing the drive, I'm going to call Camilla. Then I'm calling Turner. Turner? The lawyer? Annabelle raised an eyebrow. Gordon wants to talk business? I grabbed my properly packed bag and headed for the door. Let's talk business. As we pulled away from the house, my phone buzzed one final time. Gordon again. Don't forget dinner at 7. We'll discuss the new arrangement. I turned off my phone. Gordon had no idea what kind of arrangement was coming. He's been siphoning money for months, Camilla said, scrolling through my banking app. We sat at her kitchen table, laptops open and papers spread everywhere. Look at these transfers. Small amounts, but frequent. Always just under 5,000 to avoid flags. My hands clenched around my coffee mug. Where was it going? An account I can't access. She pointed to a recurring transfer label. But whatever BGI Holdings is, it's been getting regular payments since January. 3 hours had passed since I'd left my former home. Annabelle and Maya had dropped me at Camilla's, knowing she'd know exactly what to do. They weren't wrong. My phone, now turned back on, showed 15 missed calls from Gordon. I ignored them all. Turner will be here in 20 minutes, Camilla said, checking her watch. He's bringing the property records. I still can't believe Gordon knew Xavier knew before me, I said, pulling up the text messages. They were probably laughing about it. Camilla's face darkened. Speaking of Xavier, she turned her laptop toward me. Look who owns BGI Holdings. There it was, Xavier's name, clear as day, listed as the primary owner. My phone buzzed again. Gordon, where are you? We need to talk about this like adults. Like adults? I scoffed. Where was this adult conversation when he was selling our house? The doorbell rang. Turner arrived with a briefcase and a grim expression. Holly, he said, sitting down. I've reviewed the sale documents. There's good news and bad news. Bad news first, I said. The sale is legal. Gordon had the right to sell because the house was only in his name. What? I nearly knocked over my coffee. That's impossible. We bought it together. Check your closing documents from the purchase, Turner said. I pulled out the USB drive I'd taken from behind our wedding photo. Gordon wasn't the only one who could be clever. I'd been making copies of important documents for years, just in case. As I scrolled through the files, my stomach dropped. The deed only listed Gordon as the owner. But I paid half the down payment, I said. I have proof. It's right here. I pulled up the transfer records. That's the good news, Turner said, leaning forward. You've maintained excellent records. Every contribution you've made is documented. That gives us leverage. Leverage for what? A lawsuit, Camilla cut in. He sold your home without consent while taking your money under false pretenses. My phone buzzed yet again. This time it was Xavier. Gordon's worried sick. Just come home and work this out. Home? I laughed bitterly. What home? Turner pulled out more papers. There's something else you should see. The sale price of your house, it's well below market value, almost suspiciously so. Camilla grabbed the papers. He sold a $750,000 house for $600,000 in this market? That makes no sense unless there's something we're not seeing, Turner finished. I remembered the USB drive. Wait. I dug deeper into the files, finding a folder labeled Taxes 2022. Look at this. An LLC Gordon created last year, and look who else is on it. Xavier's name appeared again, along with 3 other names I didn't recognize. Call up the property records for that buyer, Camilla said suddenly. The one who bought your house. Turner typed quickly on his laptop. The buyer is Riverview Properties, LLC, registered 6 months ago. Check the owners, I said, already knowing what we'd find. Sure enough, Riverview Properties, LLC was owned by the same people in Gordon's, LLC. They're flipping it, Camilla said. Her real estate experience kicking in. Buy low through a shell company, renovate, sell high. The profit stays hidden in the LLC away from me, I finished. In case of divorce. My phone buzzed one last time. Gordon, this silent treatment is childish. I'm trying to build a future for us. I stood up, a strange calm settling over me. Turner, what exactly do you need to build a case? Bank records? Proof of contribution? Evidence of deliberate deception? He gestured at the spread of documents before us, which you seem to have in spades. And how long should I wait to respond to Gordon? Camilla and Turner exchanged looks. Give me 48 hours. Turner said, don't tell him anything. Don't meet him. Don't respond. Let him think you're too emotional to think straight. I nodded, picking up my phone. One last message appeared from Maya. Remember, the best revenge isn't served hot or cold. It's served when they least expect it. I turned my phone off again and looked at Turner. Let's talk about what happens next. Every deposit, every transfer, every contribution you've made to joint expenses, Turner said, organizing files on his desk. It's all here, going back 10 years. I had spent the last 2 days holed up in Turner's office, piecing together my financial history. Camilla sat beside me, taking notes and highlighting patterns we'd found. Look at this. Camilla pointed to a spreadsheet. You paid for the kitchen renovation last year, $40,000 from your inheritance, which mysteriously increased the house's value by $90,000, Turner added, money that Gordon and his friends will now pocket. My phone lit up with another message from Gordon. 3 days of silence. Real mature, Holly. I'm starting to lose my patience. He's getting nervous, Camilla observed. Good. A knock at the door interrupted us. Maya walked in carrying a stack of papers. You were right about the renovation company, she said, dropping the documents on Turner's desk. It's owned by one of the LLC partners. They've been flipping houses all over town using the same scheme. I flipped through the papers. These are all recent sales? Last 18 months, Maya confirmed. They buy low through shell companies, renovate using their own company, then sell high through different shells. The profits never touch personal accounts. Turner leaned back, a slight smile playing on his lips. This is better than we hoped. It's not just your house. It's a pattern. My phone buzzed again, this time from Annabelle. Gordon just showed up at my place looking for you. I told him to get lost. Also, you need to see what Xavier's wife just posted on Facebook. I pulled up the post. There it was, Xavier's wife showing off their new vacation home in Aspen the same week my house had been sold. That's interesting timing, Camilla said, looking over my shoulder. Wonder where that down payment came from. Turner was already typing. Property records show. Would you look at that? Purchased through BGI Holdings. The same company getting those regular transfers from Gordon, I said quietly. Maya sat down next to me. Holly, I know this is overwhelming, but you need to hear something. She pulled out her phone and played a voice message from Gordon. Maya, I know you and Annabelle are hiding her. Gordon's voice filled the room. Just tell Holly she's being ridiculous. This is business. The house was in my name. I had every right. She needs to understand her place in this marriage. My hands stopped shaking. Something inside me hardened. My place? I repeated. Let me show him my place. Turner pulled out a fresh legal pad. Here's what we're going to do. First, we file an emergency injunction to freeze the sale proceeds. Then, we go after the LLC for fraud. Won't that tip our hand? Camilla asked. No, Turner smiled. Because Holly here has something they don't know about. I pulled out the USB drive. Gordon's private records, everything he thought was safely hidden behind our wedding photo, including emails between him and Xavier discussing this scheme going back 2 years, Maya added. Another message from Gordon. I'm giving you until tomorrow to come home and discuss this reasonably. After that, things will have to change. Things will change all right, I muttered. Turner handed me a document. Sign here. This gives us permission to subpoena all the LLC records. As I signed, Camilla's phone pinged. She read the message and let out a low whistle. What? I asked. Remember that real estate agent I called? She just sent over Gordon's showing appointments from last month. Guess who was looking at penthouses downtown? I didn't need to guess. Gordon had been planning his exit strategy for months. Maya put her hand on my shoulder. Holly, whatever you decide to do next, we're all behind you. Turner, I said straightening in my chair. How long until everything's ready? Give me till Friday, then we can move. I nodded, picking up my phone. One new message waited from Xavier's wife. Holly, we need to talk. There's something you should know about Gordon and Xavier's business trips to Aspen. Friday it is, I said, looking at Turner. Time to show Gordon exactly what my place is in this marriage. Camilla grinned. Should we tell him you're coming? No, I replied, finally allowing myself a small smile. Let's make it a surprise. After all, he loves making executive decisions without consulting me. Let's see how he likes it when the tables are turned. Turner gathered the documents into his briefcase. Remember, not a word to anyone. Let him think you're still too emotional to function. The element of surprise is our biggest advantage. I looked at my phone one last time before turning it off. Gordon's last message glowed on the screen. I hope you're using this time to think about your behavior. Oh, I was thinking all right. Just not the way he imagined. You're late, Gordon snapped as I slid into my seat at his favorite restaurant. 5 days of silence had clearly worn on him. His usual perfectly pressed shirt was wrinkled, his hair unkempt. Traffic, I murmured, playing the part of the chastised wife. Across the restaurant, Camilla sat at the bar, pretending to read a book while keeping watch. I ordered for you already, Gordon said, his tone softening slightly. Your usual salmon? Of course he had. Heaven forbid I make my own choices. Where have you been staying? He asked, trying to sound casual. I shrugged, examining my menu despite his already ordering. Around? This silent treatment is beneath you, Holly. I've been trying to reach you for days. The waiter arrived with our drinks. I noticed Gordon had ordered me white wine, though I'd switched to red months ago, another detail he'd never bothered to notice. How's Xavier? I asked innocently. Enjoying his new place in Aspen? Gordon's hand tightened around his whiskey glass. What does that have to do with anything? Just making conversation. Isn't that what you wanted? To talk? Before he could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Turner. Done. All accounts frozen. I took a sip of the wine I didn't want, watching Gordon over the rim of my glass. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Then again, and again. Excuse me, he said, pulling it out. I watched his face change as he read the messages. I need to make a call. The moment he stepped away, Camilla slid into his seat. Xavier's blowing up his phone, she whispered. Turner's injunction just hit. They can't access any of the LLC accounts. How long until he realizes about the other accounts? Minutes? Maybe seconds. Gordon returned, his face pale. Holly, I need to handle something. We'll have to do this another time. But you ordered my salmon, I said, widening my eyes, and we haven't even talked about the house yet. His phone buzzed again. This time, he answered it at the table. What do you mean frozen? He hissed into the phone. How can they all be frozen? I could hear Xavier's panicked voice on the other end. Check the backup account, Gordon snapped. Then, What do you mean it's empty? That's impossible. I pulled out my own phone, opening my banking app. Oh, honey, I said softly. Is something wrong with the accounts? His head snapped up, eyes narrowing. What did you do? Me? I'm just a wife who doesn't understand business, remember? The waiter appeared with our food. The salmon for the lady? She's not staying, Gordon growled. Actually, I said, smoothing my napkin. I think I am. You did order for me after all. His phone buzzed yet again. This time, it was a text from his bank. I knew exactly what it said. The same message I'd received an hour ago when I'd transferred every penny from our joint accounts. Holly, he said, his voice dangerously low. What have you done? Made an executive decision, I replied, cutting into my salmon. The market was too good to pass up. You can't do this. Really? The accounts were in my name too, unlike the house. The color drained from his face. How did you know about that? Or about BGI Holdings? Or about the shell companies? I took another bite of salmon. It's actually quite good. You always did know what I liked. Well, except for the wine. His phone kept buzzing. Messages from Xavier, from their other partners, from their banks. This is illegal, he sputtered. Camilla appeared at our table again, this time with Turner. Actually, Turner said, placing a thick envelope on the table, everything she's done is perfectly legal, unlike, say, using shell companies to hide assets from your spouse, or fraudulently using someone's inheritance money for personal gain. Gordon's face went from white to red. You brought a lawyer to dinner? Well, you brought Xavier into our marriage, I countered. Fair is fair. Mrs. McDonald, Turner said formally, shall we proceed with filing the divorce papers? Divorce? Gordon choked. Holly, be reasonable. I stood up, finally meeting his eyes. I am being reasonable. In fact, I'm being business-minded. Isn't that what you wanted? You'll regret this, Gordon threatened. No, I said, picking up my purse. I regret not doing it sooner. Oh, and Gordon, the salmon really was excellent. You should try it. I already paid for it with what's left of your credit card. As I walked out with Turner and Camilla, I heard Gordon's phone buzz one final time, a message from Xavier's wife. We need to talk about the women you brought to Aspen. The night wasn't over yet. They're scrambling, Camilla said, scrolling through her phone. We sat in Turner's office the next morning, watching the aftermath unfold. Xavier's wife is posting cryptic messages about trust and betrayal. She's tagged every partner's wife in them. The LLC's lawyer has been trying to reach me since dawn, Turner added, checking his messages. They're offering to negotiate. I sipped my coffee feeling strangely calm. Too late for that. My phone lit up with a text from Maya. Gordon just tried to get into your old house. The new owners called the police. He's unraveling, Annabelle said from her perch on Turner's windowsill. Good. Another message popped up, this one from Xavier's wife, Jessica. Holly, I'm ready to talk. Meet me at Riverside Cafe in an hour. I showed the message to Turner, who nodded. Go, but wear this. He handed me a small recording device, just in case. The cafe was quiet when I arrived. Jessica sat in a corner booth, looking nothing like her perfectly polished Facebook photos. Her eyes were red, her designer handbag clutched tight against her chest. Thank you for coming, she said as I sat down. I should have told you sooner. Told me what? She pulled out her phone, hands shaking. I found these last month. Didn't know what to do with them. She slid the phone across the table. Photos filled the screen. Gordon and Xavier at various locations, always with different women. The timestamps matched their supposed business trips. There's more, Jessica said, her voice breaking. The houses weren't just for flipping. They were party houses, I finished. The pieces clicking into place. That's why they sold below market value. They needed places that couldn't be traced back to them. She nodded. The women, some of them were escorts, expensive ones, paid through BGI Holdings, I said. That's what the regular transfers were for. My phone buzzed. A message from Gordon. Whatever Jessica tells you is a lie. She's unstable. Don't trust her. I showed Jessica the text. She laughed bitterly. Unstable? I have bank statements, Holly, receipts, hotel bookings, everything. Would you be willing to show those to my lawyer? I'll do better than that. She pulled out a USB drive. I'll give them to you. Xavier doesn't know I made copies. Just then, both our phones buzzed simultaneously. A group message from Xavier to several numbers. Emergency meeting at the office. Everyone needs to be there. No exceptions. He's panicking, Jessica said. They all are. The wives are talking to each other now, comparing notes. I stood up. Come with me to Turner's office. We need to move fast. Back at Turner's, the pieces fell into place rapidly. Jessica's evidence, combined with what we already had, painted a picture far darker than simple real estate fraud. This changes everything, Turner said, reviewing the files. We're not just looking at civil charges anymore. This is criminal territory. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing. Messages from Gordon grew increasingly desperate. "Holly, we need to talk. This has gone too far. Think about what you're doing to our family. I can explain everything." Camilla, who'd been quiet, suddenly sat up straight. "Look at this," she said, pointing to her laptop. "They're trying to transfer the house again to another shell company." "They can't," Turner said. "The injunction." "They're trying anyway. Desperate men do desperate things." As if on cue, Annabelle burst into the office. "Gordon's at the house again. The owner's called. He's trying to break in." Turner was already dialing. "I'm calling the police. This ends now." I picked up my phone, finally responding to Gordon's messages. "Stop trying to enter the house. It's not yours anymore. Just like I'm not yours anymore." His reply came instantly. "You have no idea what you're doing. You're ruining everything we built." "No," I typed back. "I'm exposing what you built." "There's a difference." Jessica touched my arm. "There's one more thing you should know." She pulled up another photo on her phone. It showed Gordon with a young woman entering a jewelry store. "This was last week, right after he sold your house." The woman wore the same dress I'd once admired in a shop window. Gordon had called it tacky then, said it wasn't my style. "Send it to me," I said quietly. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Xavier. "Holly, whatever Gordon's done, we can work this out. Name your price." I looked at Turner. "They're offering a buyout." He smiled grimly. "They don't understand, do they? This isn't about money anymore." "No." I agreed, standing up. "It's about justice, and it's time they learned the difference." Jessica straightened in her chair. "What's next?" I checked my watch. "Their emergency meeting starts in an hour. Should we show up uninvited?" Turner gathered his files. "Let's give them a meeting they'll never forget." The elevator doors opened to the 12th floor of Xavier's office building. Gordon's voice echoed down the hallway, sharp with panic. "What do you mean you can't reverse it?" he shouted. "Call them again." I walked toward the conference room, Turner and Jessica flanking me, Camilla bringing up the rear. Through the glass walls, I could see Gordon pacing while Xavier sat with his head in his hands. 3 other men, their business partners, huddled around a laptop. "Ready?" Turner whispered. I pushed open the door. "Hope we're not interrupting." The room fell silent. Gordon froze mid-stride. "Holly." Xavier recovered first, standing up. "This is a private meeting." "Private like the houses?" Jessica stepped forward. "Or private like the escorts?" Xavier's face went ash white. "Jess, what do you sit down?" Turner commanded, his voice cutting through the tension. "All of you. Now." The men exchanged glances, but complied. Gordon remained standing. "You can't be here," he said, but his voice wavered. I pulled out a chair at the head of the table. "Actually, I can. You see, I'm now a majority stakeholder in BGI Holdings." "That's impossible," one of the partners sputtered. "Check your phones," Camilla suggested sweetly. They did. The color drained from their faces as they saw the notifications. "How?" Gordon demanded. "Remember that emergency fund you kept in the Cayman account?" I smiled. "The one you thought I didn't know about? Turns out, having my name on the account meant I could use it to buy shares, a lot of shares." "You can't do this," Xavier said. "She already has," Turner interjected, dropping a thick folder on the table, along with providing evidence of fraud, money laundering, and several other interesting activities to the relevant authorities. Gordon lunged for the folder. I pulled it back. I said. "You might want to see this first." I nodded to Camilla, who started playing a video on the conference room screen. Security footage appeared, showing Gordon and Xavier entering various properties with different women. The timestamps matched Jessica's photos perfectly. "We have hundreds of hours of this," I said quietly. "From every house you flipped, Holly." Gordon's voice turned pleading. "Whatever you think this is, save it." Jessica cut in. "I already told her everything. About the houses, the women, the parties, all of it." Xavier slumped in his chair. "Jess, please. The FBI is very interested in your business model." Turner continued, his tone conversational, particularly the part about using real estate transactions to launder money for your little side business. The other partners started whispering frantically among themselves. "You have 2 options," I said, standing up. "Option 1, we turn everything over to the authorities. You all face charges. Your other properties get seized. Your wives find out exactly what kind of business meetings you've been having. Option 2, one of the partners asked weakly. You sign everything over. The properties, the companies, all of it. Walk away with enough to start over, but not enough to maintain your current lifestyles." "That's blackmail," Gordon snarled. "No," Turner corrected. "It's negotiation." "Your specialty, isn't it?" My phone buzzed. A message from Annabelle. "Police just arrested Gordon's friend trying to break into the house again. Want me to press charges?" I showed the message to Gordon. "Sending friends to do your dirty work now? You're bluffing," Xavier said suddenly. You wouldn't risk losing everything in a legal battle. I pulled out one final document. Remember that prenup you made me sign, Gordon? The one that said I get nothing if I'm unfaithful? I slid the paper across the table. Turns out, it works both ways. And unlike you, I have proof. Gordon grabbed the paper, his hands shaking as he read. You have 1 hour to decide, Turner announced. After that, we go to the authorities. You destroy everything? Gordon asked, his voice barely a whisper. Just for revenge? I leaned across the table. No, honey, I'm just making an executive decision. The market for justice is too good to pass up. As we turned to leave, Jessica stood up. I'm going with them, she told Xavier. The divorce papers will be filed today. Jess, wait. Oh, I paused at the door. Gordon, that young woman you bought the diamond bracelet for last week. The one in the red dress. I smiled sweetly. She works for us. Consider the photo she took our insurance policy. The last thing I saw as the door closed was Gordon's face crumpling as he realized just how completely he'd been outplayed. In the elevator, Camilla checked her watch. 59 minutes until their world implodes. Unless they take the deal, Jessica added. They'll take it, I said confidently. Men like them always choose self-preservation over pride. Turner's phone buzzed. First partner's lawyer just called. They're ready to negotiate. I smiled. Right on schedule. Sign here and here. Turner pointed to the marked lines. Initial these pages. Gordon's hand trembled as he signed the documents. Across the conference table, Xavier and the other partners did the same, their lawyers hovering nervously behind them. 3 days had passed since our confrontation. We were back in the same conference room, but the power dynamic had shifted dramatically. That's the last of the property transfers, Turner announced, collecting the papers. BGI Holdings is now officially under new management. You've ruined us, Xavier muttered, not meeting anyone's eyes. No, Jessica corrected from her seat beside me. You ruined yourselves. We just exposed it. My phone buzzed with a message from Annabelle. The moving trucks just finished at the house. Everything's out. Gordon looked up sharply at the sound. Where are my things? In storage, I replied coolly, just like you did with mine. The access code will be sent to your lawyer. What am I supposed to do now? His voice cracked. Where am I supposed to go? Funny, I said. Those are the exact questions I asked myself when you sold our house. One of the partners stood up abruptly. This is insane. We had a good thing going. A good thing? Camilla interrupted, pulling up photos on the conference room screen. You mean these good things? Images flashed across the screen. Their parties, their secret meetings, bank statements showing suspicious transfers. Enough, Turner said firmly. The deals are signed. You've all been more than fairly compensated considering the alternatives. Fairly compensated? Gordon spat. You've taken everything. Not everything, I corrected. Just the illegally obtained assets. You each still have your personal accounts. Well, what's left of them? Xavier's lawyer cleared his throat. My client would like to discuss the matter of the Aspen property. The property purchased with laundered money. Turner raised an eyebrow. That property has been surrendered to authorities as evidence of criminal activity. Unless you'd like to explain its funding source to the FBI. The lawyer fell silent. My phone buzzed again. This time from Maya. Police just called. They're ready to move on the other properties whenever you give the word. I showed the message to Turner, who nodded. Gentlemen, he announced, I suggest you use what's left of your resources to start fresh, somewhere far away, because once this goes public, Xavier's head snapped up. You promised. We promised not to press charges. Jessica cut in. We never promised silence. Gordon stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Holly, please. We can work this out. We can start over. Like you were planning to start over with that girl in the red dress? I pulled out one final photo. Gordon in the jewelry store, caught in the act. How much did that bracelet cost? More or less than my inheritance you stole. He collapsed back into his chair defeated. Mr. Gordon, Turner said firmly, I suggest you leave now. Your new apartment lease starts today. The address has been sent to your lawyer. New apartment? Gordon looked confused. 1 bedroom, 3rd floor walk-up. I said, the rent fits within your new budget. I picked it myself. Considered it my final executive decision in our marriage. The partners filed out one by one, their lawyers herding them toward the elevators. Xavier paused at the door. Jessica, he started. Save it. She cut him off. The divorce papers are being filed this afternoon. Your things will be gone by the time I get home. Gordon was the last to leave. He stopped beside my chair. I never met, he began. Yes, you did, I interrupted. You meant every bit of it. You just never thought I'd fight back. The door closed behind him with a final click. Well, Camilla said into the silence, that was satisfying. Turner gathered his briefcase. The properties will be sold at market value. The proceeds will be split among the victims of their scheme. And the houses they used for their parties? Jessica asked. Evidence in an ongoing investigation. Turner smiled. The authorities are very interested in their guest list. My phone lit up one last time. A message from Gordon. I'm sorry. Too little. Too late. Ready to go? Camilla asked, standing up. I looked around the conference room where my marriage had effectively ended, where justice had finally been served. Just one more thing, I said, pulling out an envelope. Inside was the USB drive I'd taken from behind our wedding photo, Gordon's secret insurance policy that had become his downfall. I dropped it in the shredder. Now I'm ready. As we walked out, Jessica linked her arm through mine. What next? I smiled. I hear the real estate market is looking up. Maybe it's time to buy a new house, one that's all mine? Perfect, I said, signing the final document. The keys to my new house clinked as Turner handed them over. Congratulations. He smiled. This one's all yours. No hidden surprises. No secret partners. Camilla bounced excitedly beside me. Can we see it now? We drove to the house, my house, in comfortable silence. It sat on a quiet street, smaller than my old home, but somehow more significant. The garden needed work. The paint was chipping, but it was mine, all mine. Look what we brought. Annabelle's voice rang out as we pulled up. She and Maya stood on the porch holding paint rollers and takeout bags. We thought you might want to make it yours right away, Maya explained. My phone buzzed. A news alert. The headline made me pause. Local real estate scheme exposed. Multiple arrests made. They actually did it, Jessica said, reading over my shoulder. She'd arrived with a bottle of champagne and determination in her eyes. They tried to start the business up again in another state. Not very smart, Turner noted, pulling up the full article. The FBI was watching their every move. Speaking of moves, Camilla interrupted, Gordon's girlfriend, the one in the red dress, just testified against him. Turns out she was working with 3 other escort agencies they'd used. I unlocked the front door, letting everyone in. The empty rooms echoed with possibility. Paint first or food first? Annabelle asked, holding up the rollers. Actually, I said, there's something else first. I pulled out a small box from my bag. Inside was a framed photo, not my wedding photo this time, but a new one taken last week. It showed all of us, me, Annabelle, Maya, Camilla, Jessica, even Turner, celebrating the final court victory. Where should we hang it? Maya asked. Right here. I pointed to the living room wall where everyone can see it. As Maya hung the photo, my phone buzzed again. A message from Gordon's sister. He's asking about you. Says he wants to apologize properly. I showed it to the others. Delete it, Jessica advised, like I deleted Xavier's 100 messages of regret. Already done, I said. Some chapters need to stay closed. We ordered pizza, opened Jessica's champagne, and started painting the living room. The color, a bold terracotta, was nothing like the safe beige Gordon had insisted on in our old house. Have you seen the latest property listings? Camilla asked, rolling paint onto the walls. The houses they use for their parties are being converted into women's shelters. The Justice Department approved it this morning. Good, I said firmly. Something positive should come from all this. Turner's phone rang. He stepped out to take the call, returning with a satisfied smile. That was the prosecutor, he announced. Gordon and Xavier took plea deals. They're looking at significant time. The others too. How long? Jessica asked quietly. 5 to 7 years, plus restitution to all affected parties. Maya raised her champagne glass. To karma. To friendship, Annabelle added. To new beginnings, Jessica chimed in. To executive decisions. I finished clinking my glass with theirs. As the evening wore on, we painted and planned. Jessica talked about the support group she'd started for women in similar situations. Camilla shared ideas for a real estate advocacy program. Maya and Annabelle discussed their upcoming wedding. You know what's funny? I said, stepping back to admire our work. Gordon always said I was bad at making decisions, that I needed his guidance. And now look who's guiding who. Camilla grinned. My phone buzzed one final time. An email from the Justice Department, Victim Restitution Program, first payment processed. What will you do with it? Turner asked. I looked around at my new home, at the family I'd chosen, at the life I'd rebuilt. I'm thinking of starting a foundation, I said, for women who need help getting out of bad situations, legal aid, housing assistance, that sort of thing. Count me in, Jessica said immediately. Me too, Camilla added. Us 3, Maya said, hugging Annabelle. Turner pulled out his business card. You'll need a good lawyer. I looked at the newly painted wall, at our group photo hanging proudly in the center. The terracotta color reminded me of sunrise, fitting for this new chapter. You know what Gordon used to say about sunrise? I picked up my paint roller again, that it was just the same sun, different day. And what do you say? Annabelle asked. I dipped the roller in paint, adding another stroke to my fresh start. I say it's a new sun, a new day. And this time, I'm the one making the executive decisions. The room filled with laughter and agreement, the sound echoing off newly painted walls that would never hide secrets or shelter lies. Just truth, justice, and the family I'd found along the way.